I thank the right honourable gentleman for advance sight of his statement. Very nice to receive it only 12 hours after the Times newspaper. And although I must say I only received the policy document itself at 11:05, unlike Labour MPs at the Pinewood studios, who, according to social media, had the document some time before. I do hope, whilst the Prime Minister is in Pinewood, he will hear from the concerns of their owners about the very substantial increase in business rates from 2026 that is going to affect their profits and the viability of what was, under the Conservatives, a flourishing sector. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, we all on this side of the House want to congratulate the Government on its most recent reset. There are only a few more resets left before Christmas. The Labour Party may like to try turning it off and, well, maybe just leaving it off. But it's good that they have taken the time to come up with an emergency list of priorities. After only 14 years in opposition and 5 months in power, they've finally decided some things they're going to work towards. The right honourable gentleman in his statement was quite punchy about the past. Actually unusually punchy for the right honourable gentleman. One could say that if the right honourable gentleman is rattled, and he is not the rattling type, it is a sign that the government itself must be feeling pretty unstable at the moment. We had, and the benches opposite talk about legacy, and I mean this genuinely. I wish them good fortune in government. The last government had to clean up the mess from the greatest financial crisis in a century. From the greatest financial crisis in a century, the last government had to deal with the biggest pandemic in a century. The last government had to deal with the biggest war in Europe since 1945. And the right honourable members and right honourable members opposite might like to gloss over that. They might like to pretend it's not important. But history judges that very differently. And it reflects very badly on the Labour Party that it refuses to acknowledge the importance of those extremely significant events. Let us turn to each of the new millstones in order. Number one, raising living standards in every part of the United Kingdom so that working people have more money in their pockets no matter where they live. How is this to be measured? What are the metrics? When will the data be published? Who will be held to account? We all need to know. Second, to build 1.5 million homes and fast-track planning decisions, the OBR have already said that this government is very unlikely to build more homes than the last Conservative government. What has changed since the budget? Why do they now believe that they will be able to achieve this? Is there more money? Have the spending plans changed? Option 3, tackle hospital backlogs. But we've already seen funding first, reform later. Disastrous way to do business. And the NHS bosses who've been briefed about this, already briefing the press, saying that this requirement is going to put enormous pressure on A&E without additional money, additional to the money that was given at the budget. Is there more money going to be made available for the NHS to fulfil option 3? 4, policing. Only 3,000 of the 13,000 neighbourhood police officers are extra new police officers. Only 3,000 of the 13,000. This target is not genuine. Is there a proposal to deal with the backlog in the courts? Without that, extra police officers will only lead to greater backlog in the courts. Does the Labour Party have a plan for this? 5, energy. In March, the government, in their missions document, said that by 2030, the UK will be the first major country in the world to run at 100% clean and cheap power. So since March, it's been degraded by 5%. Can we expect this target to be degraded by 5% every 9 months? 6, children, ready to learn. A wonderful target, genuinely wonderful target. What does the right honourable gentleman mean by ready to learn? How will it be measured? When will the House be told how progress is being made? Now, obviously, on all of these things, there are good things to be done. But the missions only mean anything if the government is honest about what it is doing, about the milestones it is hitting or not hitting. And also why it has downgraded certain other priorities. Like, how has it chosen these 6 issues over immigration, over GP surgeries, over A&E, over defence, over the 300 energy bill reduction target, over becoming the fastest growing economy in the G7? Why has the government chosen the priorities it has? The House should be told. And finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, who is taking responsibility for achieving these targets? I mean, who is taking real responsibility? I think a lot of us were pleased when the Health Secretary the other day said that individuals at the top of the health service would be held accountable with their jobs if targets were not hit. Will the same thing apply to ministers? Who in government is taking real responsibility for these targets? So if the government is serious, we need data, we need accountability, and we need transparency. Will the right honourable gentleman guarantee to the House that we will get that?
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I spent more of my life than I would have liked in opposition, and I learned one thing about being in opposition, which is you have to decide what your attack is. And as I listened to the honourable member, I wasn't sure whether he supported the plan or whether he opposed the plan. He refers to millstones. Let me tell him very clearly, the only millstone that this government and this country have is the appalling legacy left by the party opposite. And let us contrast what we are announcing today with their milestones of failure. They had record-high waiting lists, the worst parliament for living standards on record, a surrender on house building, a failure on infrastructure, a £22 billion hole in the public finances. Those are their milestones of failure. These are our choices today. The metrics by which we measure things are set out in the document before the House today. These are targets that will make a real difference to people's lives. Higher living standards across the country, more housing, fewer people on NHS waiting lists, more community police, the best start in life for all children. This is already measured when children start school at the age of 5. They already measure this, and let me tell him what his government's record was. It fell under his government, and our plan is to raise that so that 3 out of 4 children can start school ready to learn. That is the measure that we will choose. The truth is, the party opposite couldn't tackle the challenges we set out today, and they know it. They couldn't unblock the housing system or get the growth the country needs, because they are the ones blocking the new housing and the infrastructure that we need. They couldn't fix the schools or the hospitals or get more police in the streets, because they are still saying they support the investment while opposing any revenue measure that pays for it, thereby sacrificing any reputation or economic competence that they have. What a contrast, and we will not subscribe to the fatalistic view that all we can look forward to is more of the kind of failure we saw over the last 14 years. We believe in setting out plans that will improve people's lives, because we know that a united government with a clear sense of priorities, prepared to do the hard yards and make the difficult long-term choices for the country, can deliver a better future for people. And that is what is set out in the plan that we published today.